Well, welcome to BS&BEER Canada, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Aaron Jones. I am a carpenter and a builder on Grand Manan Island in New Brunswick, Canada. And I'm going to let our guest introduce himself when we get to him tonight. I am drinking a beer from Fredericton. It is an IPA called Half Cut. I knew you'd appreciate that, Sean. So over to you, man.
It has been a day, and since we're on the eve of St. Patrick's Day, we might have many Guinnesses. I'm actually having a Magnard's cider, which typically I blend with a Guinness called a Crown Float. So I'm going to enjoy a cider. So cheers to all of you. Where am I? What am I up to? I'm in Vancouver, so I'm actually over there somewhere in the orange. And I'm the VP of operations at Clay Construction and passionate about resilient prefab passive houses. And I love this discussion because we actually had another client talk about a retrofit and the whole energy sprung topic and prefab, these panels. It's great. So really looking forward to this presentation because as much as we're doing high performance in the new builds, retrofit's where the market is, and this particular guest is ahead of the curve. I mean, we're lucky here in BC where our Energy Step code by 2032 will be pretty much at passive house level, so we'll be at step code 5. So it's really exciting that we're definitely setting some of the standards in Canada for our codes, but we're, again, if you're looking at your business model, retrofits, and so today's a great discussion of where we're all heading, where we're going. So cheers to all you for showing up today. I hope that you all have a great St. Patrick's Day. One of these days, hopefully Guinness will make it an official holiday, but unofficially, we are all here together to have some fun and enjoy a four-leaf clover. So hopefully you find one. If not, you're here today and we're gonna have lots of fun. So I'm gonna send it over to Lori. No, we just heard about Lori. We're going over Connor. It's been a day. Connor, over to you.
Hey everybody, I'm Connor Malloy. I'm an educator at George Brown College. We have a building and renovation program. And for me, yeah, as Sean said, retrofits for us is really what we teach and is the biggest market in Ontario. The renovation market in Canada is larger than all new construction. We just don't think about it that way, right? We focus on big projects and multiplexes and high rise, but there are more renovations happening, and there's a big market for learning about retrofits and deep energy retrofits. So I'm curious to learn from our speaker tonight and looking forward to the discussion. Over to you, Laurie.
Thanks. Yeah, I think Sean, you didn't, I was talking, but I wasn't really talking when you came on. So I'm Laurie Brand. I am in Halifax. I'm like, I can never do this. Anyway, over my shoulder in the blue. And I'm really excited about this talk. I have known about this project for a while. A lot of the articles I've read about it have been in French, so I might get to find out in English some of the things that I maybe glossed over. We're going to have a great time, and everyone knows I love retrofits, so it's great. I am drinking a amazing mineral water with some cherry juice thrown in top. Uh, Apparently cherry juice helps you sleep. So, but it won't kick in until we get off of this. I promise to stay awake, guys. And on that note, I'll hand it over to Fellipe.
Try not to be too long so you don't fall asleep, Lori. So,
Oh,
hi
no.
everyone, I'm Fellipe. Joining you guys from Montreal, Quebec, and very excited to be with you. And today I'm drinking a Mad Dog. So we have Bid Dog here. So I have a Mad Dog beer. So cheers to you guys. And it's an IPA, pretty good. First time I'm trying it. So
Well,
yeah,
ahead,
today I want to take you guys on a journey because this project was definitely a journey for me. I say that because I started a project knowing nothing to kind of finishing it and knowing a bit more. Let's say, I won't say that I'm always learning, and listen, every year I learn more and more. But to me, it was really a pilot project for me. It on many ways. So I'm very excited to talk to you about it.
Well, I'm going to let you just take over here, Philippe, and run with it. I just want to say that I'm really excited to have you here. I love the passion that you have for retrofits. And while I do enjoy building a new construction, like a new build, in some ways it's easy. I have learned more from restoring and renovating than I have ever learned from building anything new. So I love renovations, retrofits. They're always going to have a special place in my heart. And I don't know, the passion you bring to this, it sparks a little something inside me. I'm not going to lie. I want to put some Larson trusses on the outside of something. I just need somebody to let me.
I think it, and you're right. To me, it's really passionate. Like I just find the challenge is what drives me. I think it's the challenge that kind of excites me. Every project is slightly different, and I don't know. It's just like I like to complicate my life. I don't know why. That's how I do things. And I completely agree, Aaron. Honestly, renovations is like what's been teaching me the most. Like thinking of a new build now is a piece of cake now for me. So let me share my screen. So a bit more about me and my construction company. So for now, I'm the only one in the company. A lot of my work is subcontracted. I mean, I have a couple of carpenters that are always there working with me, but for now, the brand is me. So I kind of put both together. I put both together. I wear many hats. First of all, and mostly, I'm a general contractor and consultant for retrofit projects. And really, we try to help our clients from beginning to end. Okay. So when I say beginning to end, I have clients come to me and say, I want to do a retrofit project. I don't even have a property. Let's identify what's the best property and let's develop a project around it. And I deliver all the way to the end. So I'll build a design team, build a building, retrofit it, right? And also help them kind of move in, use their systems adequately, monitor the house. So I really try to be a one-stop shop, let's say. Also do a lot of membranes and window installs and basically like all air tightness details. I do help other builders kind of achieve, higher performance envelopes. So kind of fills in the gaps in between the big sites is, doing those window installs, learning, and, being able to also see how other people build, not just being on my site, but being exposed to different conditions. I'm also the vice president of Bâtiment Passif Québec, which is basically, we're trying to catalyze Passive House in Quebec. So we offer Passive House trainings in French. So we work with Passive House Canada and we offer the class in French. And of course, we organize events to try to really catalyze this market that Quebec, we're like on a small little secluded province here in Canada. Of course, you have a big language barrier. And because of that language barrier is really why I kind of started my own podcast called Beyond the Walls, in French, Au-delà des murs. And the co-host, I do that with a very good friend of mine, mechanical contractor. And we try to, same thing, bridge the gap, bridge the gap of the language barrier that we have. We have so much good resources in English. And you know what? That's where I learned. Before I get into all of this, guys, my background, like, yes, I'm an engineer, I'm a civil engineer. It's not, I studied structural engineering, but in terms of building science, it's a big imposter syndrome today. Like everything that I learned in terms of building science was all free and all from like videos, content, which a lot of you guys who are inviting me here today are always there providing. So, I look at people like Sean. Sean, I've been looking at you for like 5-6 years, all your content, like Connor, you put like great content to educate. Aaron too, like Lori also. We've known each other for a long time. Like first time we had a discussion, like I was so naive, I didn't know. So I thank everyone here for like putting out content consistently. I guess I'm one of the first generations where, I'm learning from all of you guys for free, and so I thank you all for that. And, you know, I'm trying to give a little bit back now to the French language so that we can get things going in Quebec. So when I say I wanted to take you on a journey, this project to me, okay, was really a pilot project. So it combined a lot of projects into one. So put you into context. So like I said, studied civil engineering. On my last year of university, I had to write a term paper, and I went to see a professor at McGill University to kind of, I'm a professor of architecture, and I kind of spoke to him. I'm like, listen, I'd like to write about green buildings. That's literally what I called them. You know, he looked at me, okay, what's, you know, green buildings? Okay, I'm coming out, you know. So I was like, okay. It's like, well, first of all, you shouldn't focus on new construction at all. That's like easily feasible now. Like, it's not what we need to research. It's like you should deep dive into retrofits. And I wrote a paper basically on the feasibility of prefabricated exterior retrofits, sort of like Energy Sprong, for the Eastern context of Canada. And man, like that kind of opened up Pandora's box for me. And I'm saying that probably was 6 years ago. And like for me, that was like eye-opening. And, you know, we were talking about the potential, you know, Sean was talking about the retrofits is the big market. And that's what the potential I saw. I'm like, oh my God, there's so many buildings to retrofit, like, and there's so little people actually doing that work. So I'm like, that's what I want to do. Went on to work for a general contractor for 2-3 years, worked on high rises, worked on a 40-story high rise lead tower. Was fun, but I wanted a more residential landscape. So bought a property, an investment property, a duplex. And so it was really 3 projects into one. It was also where I wanted to move in. I was still living at my parents, so wanted to have it as my main residence, which already was one of my lifetime goals, was build my own house. And I always wanted to start my construction company, you know, my business. So it was also a pilot project for my business. So I kind of had like a 3-in-1. I was like, let me put all my eggs into one basket and hope it works. So this is the journey of what the project was. So of course, I took the role of the GC. I was a laborer, and I would say I'm the designer also. I had a little bit of help, but like I didn't have a design team. I didn't have an architect helping me all along the way. What I had for help is internet and some good, you know, some good manufacturers with the help, you know, some good friends that came to visit. I'm thinking of Robert Roson. Man, he helped me so much. My energy modeler, Stephen Magneron, excellent work. So without them, it wouldn't be possible. So I kind of went in like like I said, very naively jumping into it. Didn't even know what I was gonna do, but I was just like, okay, let's do it. So I wanted to be like my paper, wanted to be a panelized retrofit. So I was like, okay, well, the back here, like I could definitely try to panelize something, but then the front facade was already redone. I mean, I'm on both party walls, so it was just really be doing it for like the back facade. Kind of dropped that idea really quick, and I was like, hey, let me be realistic. It's my first project, never even done a construction in my whole life by myself. Let me not do that. And so basically, I went to do like a more conventional retrofit, not a prefabricated retrofit. And what was good is that it was really one of the best experiences in terms of retrofit. Why? Well, I had 2 units. It's a duplex, so it's 2 fully livable units. On the top one, that's where I set up my residence. So I really went for a deep energy retrofit. I stripped everything all the way to the bare bones. You'll see some pictures later. But on the bottom unit, it was a rental unit. So I kind of, you know, I couldn't go the full way. I would say I call it a medium energy retrofit, right? Still changed the whole windows. We still worked a lot on air sealing. We added insulation, at least on not on our party walls, right? And we tried to do our best as in terms of air sealing, but, you know, always keeping it budget friendly. Also, I kind of had combined like an interior, had an interior part of the retrofit and an exterior part of the retrofit. Like usually in retrofits, you try to keep it at least, I mean, you try to keep it at least either exterior or interior, but I kind of had the experiences of doing both here. So to me, it was like a project to really test out everything. To me, I think what's really important and what works very well in my method is identifying like retrofit potentials of building. I think that's very important when we look at retrofits to assess the viability of a project, because in the end, we could retrofit any building. Technically, we could definitely retrofit every building. Economically, probably not the case. Some buildings are more retrofittable than others. So it's very important to kind of identify that. So first of all, of course, we need an old building. Like if you're retrofitting a 10-year-old building, unless it like has major building failure, like it probably doesn't need a retrofit as much as like a 30-year-old or 50-year-old building, right? Or even more, right? In my case, the building was 130-year-old. It was a 1895 building. Good soil orientation is pretty hard, okay? But because it's a retrofit, it's already an established building. But the soil orientation, I chose the property when I went to purchase the property is because exactly I had a big south facing, right? I'm really aligned with the north-south, but I have a big south facing, I could put big south facing windows, and in the front, you know, I couldn't really change the facade. So I kept a conservative glazing there. So to me, it was a very good business case. And also I had a very nice big tree you'll see in the back for passive shading there. Of course, interior, exterior, and back condition. As you'll see in the previous pictures too, I mean, there's this part in the back that also already didn't have siding. Like siding was already in bad condition, had to be redone. So to me, it was also a very good opportunity. Good real estate location is kind of key. Like I think it's a rule of real estate, right? They always say location, location, location. A project that's also located in the city will bring almost more value when you retrofit it. Okay. You have also access to better, you have access to more materials, and you have less gaps to bridge. So I find that good real estate location is a good important factor for a retrofit and making the business case viable. Of course, we don't really want major structural issues or like, I could think of like asbestos. Sometimes you can't control it, but that's money that you're kind of putting into fixing the building and not really making it more energy efficient. And finally, I really want, a simple building shape. Those heart-shaped buildings are kind of hard to go and retrofit. It's a lot of tricky details. So, like I said, existing building conditions, built in 1895. It's a Quebec frame construction. So it's really, that's what they call it. It's solid wood. So technically, like in our days, right, we're all here looking for CLT. This is like the OG CLT. It's not just full wood, right? Really was trying to work around that. So it was a 2 stories, and it has I'd say like a 7-foot crawl space that's actually usable. Original windows were single pane, no insulation, a stone foundation, and there was like about 20 baseboards. I'll talk about the airtightness a bit later, but like I said, perfect north to south orientation. And you'll see that, and I'll show you guys a bit later, but there was an extension done in 1994. And the brick facade was redone in 2004. So I didn't really want to retouch that brick facade, but for the extension, it kind of really helped my business case into building up and also creating more square footage, also helping the business case a bit. So yeah, like I said, these are a couple of pictures of before and after, from 19th century really to, let's say, 21st century. In the front, we kept it fairly similar, changed the windows, right? Brick stayed in place. In the back, that's where we went and added a big facade, a nice extension and a mezzanine with an access to the rooftop. So I guess most of the work was done in the back. Why did I aim for net zero? To me, that's one of the big problems of retrofits. Well, not big problems, but it's a problem. I think certifying builds is a good way in terms of financially setting it apart from other buildings. It kind of gives it like, the blue check on Twitter. It's important. We want to make those buildings like very attractive after that in the real estate market. So I wanted to get a certification. Retrofit for a first build would have been way too hard. Like it would have been way too ambitious. So I looked at Net Zero Ready really as, to me, it's the best certification, and I'd say easiest to get, but really the most realistic certification to go get for my case. Now, I wanted to do the full building initially, but I'm really what is being certified as Net Zero Ready is only the top unit. It is being, like I said, I really did a medium retrofit on the bottom unit. It was a bit hard to go reach the full numbers, but the top unit is on its way to becoming the first Net Zero Ready certified building in Quebec. Why is that? Well, I mean, we don't have a CHBA in Quebec, so it's completely like different. We have a different organization called the APCHQ, and these two organizations don't talk. That's why I kind of feel like Quebec is in a different, like we're in a different country, but we don't have that. So I decided to kind of, you know, bring that certification here in Quebec. Why not? You know, why are we not seeing that? And hopefully in a couple of years, we'll start seeing that a bit more in Quebec and trying to bring that certification here because I find it fabulous. So this is the pre-enter guide report that we had for the whole building. And this is the post-enter guide report. Of course, you see that, I mean, the middle value changed, right? Because we also added an extension. We do have more volume. But in the end, I'll show you the results, but we kind of reduced the load by 65%. We're not going passive, but with this type of project and trying to keep a good viable business case, I think that we did pretty well. So that's kind of the nice little equation that we have here. So all started with the conscious design. Like I said, I really wanted to have this project initially panelized. So how we set it in plans, we did a point cloud, and we tried to really take that point cloud and set it to a 3D CAD. Like all the steps were really laid out to kind of go panelized, but then I saw like permit wise and feasibility wise, it really wasn't making sense. But this is the design that we kind of came up with. So really utilizing that extension that was already there, was a 1-floor extension, and trying to build up to also go get this rooftop terrace on top, right? And I have a magnificent view of downtown Montreal. I really wanted to really use up the most square footage as possible. And this is the way that we found. So like I said, design team, I had a designer by the name of Thomas Stitch help me with basically drawing up the plans and helping me with modeling, a bit of modeling there. And I had Stefan Magron from Homesol working also with me on that. So that's what we came up with. So air tightness, 16 ACH was the initial air tightness. Pretty big, right? Not as crazy as Lori's project, which was what? It was 24. Like still 16 was completely leaky. It was a very inefficient building. And I was able to bring it down to 5.2 with everything that was done manually. Now, keep in mind, this was my first build. I didn't even know I would be able to achieve this low. And now we look at this number, it's still fairly high, 5.2. Like you know, now jokingly, to me, I'm kind of ashamed of this number, but put it into context, pretty good, right? So 5.2 ACH was the mid-construction blower test. And I knew I needed to go more. I mean, for the Net Zero Ready certification, I need to go below 2. And so, of course, I had to kind of call in I call them the lifesavers or the fire department, aero seal and aero barrier to kind of help me try and achieve below 2, right? One thing to note though is that my barrier was also, first of all, never, like, it was very hard to keep a barrier continuity. I was going from interior to exterior to party walls, and for a first project, I found it so hard. And like now I kind of understand the importance of continuity. I'll speak about all that too, but I didn't have a very good continuity of the barrier where, let's say, the outside retrofit would meet the interior retrofit. Also, a big problem that I kind of didn't really think about was, I mean, I have 2 units there. So yes, there's leakage that's towards the exterior walls, but a lot of this leakage was in between units. So in between units was a big source of leak. And for example, my plumbers that were kind of redoing a couple of bathrooms, well, weren't really conscious of that. And even me, I kind of didn't think of it. I was just looking at the exterior walls, but I mean, they were putting drains and everything and cutting holes like 2 by 2. And I was like, oh my God, I had so much taping to do. But really a big part of the leakage was in between units. So yeah, of course, the strategy really was a combination of, you know, the zip panels in the back, really easy to get a good continuity of your air barrier with that. We had, you know, a smart vapor barrier also on the interior where we could, connecting it to the party walls. On the party walls, also used a very we sealed them, but we sealed them with like just a normal Tyvek. It was really only a question of keeping, you know, that air out. And of course, I used a bit of closed cell foam, spray foam on the roof, which was one of my big mistakes, but you learn from it, right? So when we called aero barrier, you know, it was a 2-day operation. Like it was so fun to kind of see like how technology has evolved for that. It has its place, right? Technically, we should be building and try to build without aero barrier. Technically, if we don't always need aero barrier if we detail things correctly. But in a retrofit scenario, there's so many variables. It really helped out. You see at some point here, there's like we found like a huge hole in between, like a staircase in between both units. When we seal that, like I think it knocked down like 2 or 3 ACHs. Like it was like, say, a 4-hour operation where we kind of brought it down to the net zero levels that we really wanted it to be. Ventilation. So my strategy is, well, I need to have 2 different systems. So downstairs on the bottom unit, a bit smaller, right? We didn't have those double height ceilings that I have on the second unit. We went with the Minotaur, an all-in-one, I guess, ventilation unit, right? Fairly nice. It was like new technology. My installer really, I mean, worked a lot with that product. I find it fascinating, and it has great uses for it, right? So this is a system for my tenants. So I can't really speak on comfort for it because I don't live there, but it's been working great. I have had no problems so far, and an ease of installation, and I think it really has a good place in terms of retrofits. And upstairs, I really went with a more conventional, you know, heat pump with an HRV and the humidifier. Because we did have those big double height ceilings, the Minotaur wouldn't have been strong enough for that. So the envelope, again, I had like very little strategy. That's why I'm not showing you guys. I'm only showing you pictures because I didn't have details drawn. Like my details are literally like in a handbook, like here somewhere. I didn't want to show you guys on camera, but that's what it was. Had a lot of site meetings, for example. There was one big meeting, I still remember this day. I'm sure Robert still remembers. So Robert from Zip came over and, you know, we're speaking about, you know, there's so many compositions that you can do. And I didn't know how to, like, I was just going crazy. I'm like, okay, I could do this, could do that, could do that. It's like, listen, calm down. Let's look at this, right? You have the principles right? You're aiming for good air tightness, and you have great windows. So my windows, let's start with the windows. I bought triple glazed windows from NZP Fenestration. They are a passive house window manufacturer in Quebec. Come to now be great friends of mine. I install a lot of work for them, a lot of windows on a lot of projects for them. Great UPVC windows. They're very similar to the Innotech windows for people in the West there. Man, great product, great quality, like night and day. Like I've never been in contact with a triple glazed windows. I was like so scared to kind of drop $50,000 on windows, but like it was really all worth it. And so Robert's like, listen, he showed me that famous, I think it was that same time that I think her name's Christine from the Building Science Fight Club. She was posting like the difference of like the importance of glazing relative to R value, right? You can have like R60 walls and an R2 glazing, but you could like it's not as performant as a R10 glazing and like maybe an more conservative R35 wall, right? So I really on this project focused on better windows, better air tightness, but really not going too crazy on insulation. So I think at the end got about an R40 wall and about I think R55 ceiling. So every different part of the project had kind of like different compositions, and I'm saying like from different facades, like the party walls. I still insulate a bit the party walls, I guess, for a bit of temperature, but also in terms of sound. the front walls, the back walls, and also different units. So I can't really say like this was the envelope. It was a bit of everything, but I added insulation as much as I could. So, you know, zip R9 continuous on the exterior, a lot of rock wool, love working with rock wool. Tried to keep a lot of service cavities. I think I really, you know, only on the walls that I knew that I wasn't going to put a lot of plugs, but I ended up having a lot of service cavities, like maybe using one or two, those electrical boxes, vapor barriers that connect to the exterior vapor barrier. So kind of facilitated my life on that, and also made it easier for people on site to, you know, to kind of follow and not perforate my membrane. So here are a couple of other pictures of the interior and the exterior. Here's the party wall on the left, where we see the sort of the Tyvek put on, you know, on the exterior side facing the party wall, kind of tied back to that Quebec frame construction wood, right? Kind of overlapping there, and yeah, the exterior zip panels there. I had a huge leak in between both buildings. So if you see in the right corner here, there's like a big spray foam here, big line of spray foam that kind of cut a lot. You know, I couldn't really do work on my neighbor's building, but it was very, very drafty there. So I did use spray foam on a couple of parts of the build, and all my ceiling was spray foam. I really wanted to use that as a service cavity for my mechanicals. You know, I didn't want to have any drop ceilings for it. Now, I mean, I would use it, I would do it completely differently, but back then was good enough for me, let's say. So I guess project and numbers, the whole build really took 2 years. And I'm saying like from beginning of design to moving in took about 2 years. Costed about 500,000. And when I say 20,000 in code versus the added costs, that's really to go, I guess, into the realm of high performance, right? That's how much more money that I had to put. And I'm saying these include like the cost from going to double to triple glazing. Like we also need to compare apples to apples. Like we can't compare a normal double glazed window with like a European triple glazed window. If we're looking at other European, you know, with a nice architectural style and some nice hardware and everything, if we're looking at double glaze versus triple glaze, it was maybe $10,000 in difference. I included that. I mean, air sealing is really is free. If it's well done, air sealing is like it's almost free, right? I included there the cost of aero barrier. And really, I think in terms of going maybe a bit more of insulation, that's also where I added a bit of costs. But really, we're kind of seeing like maybe a 5% markup in terms of added costs to go high performance, right? So not too much. And in subsidies combined, like various programs combined, first of all, there was the Greener Homes grant. In Quebec, we have an equivalent version of that, which is the Renault Climat. And we also had like on my mortgage, I had mortgage insurance, and I kind of got a 25% rebate on the mortgage insurance too. So everything combined in money that I got back from that was 18,000. So kind of offset those costs of going high performance. Again, this is a very like, it's my first project. Like, I was trying to keep it realistic, right? And all of that, I guess 65% in energy reduction, just for, you know, technically out of pocket in the end is $2,000 more to kind of go and do these details right. So there's really no discussions to be like why we shouldn't build high performance. This is like, to me, it was the concept of really a pretty good house. Like we're just trying to put the importance in the right places. I didn't go crazy on the insulation, but you know, from then maybe going to passive house or Retrofit would just be get much better air tightness and adding an insulation, right? So we're halfway there. So I guess lessons learned, and I'm only really putting the bad, but in terms of lessons learned, like to me, this was like the best learning experience, like I said, that I could ever have gotten. Like I am so far ahead. I would do this project completely differently. So here are a couple of things that for me were like some big lessons learned. So a continuous air barrier for me was really key. Like, you need to have a continuous air barrier for a performing project. I didn't put enough emphasis. There's ways to do it, you know, those tricky transitions. There's liquid applied barriers. Like, there's so many ways that we can go about it. And you know, it's just taking the time, putting the thought, and not trying to, like, you know, cut a corner here or there. So that's one of the big things that I learned. Again, like I mentioned, like multi-units, well, you need to be careful also between those units. There's a lot of leaks that pass. And now, I mean, it's not just air, right? It's sound that passes through, smells that pass through. Like, I've never heard my tenants. Either they're super quiet, but I've never heard them, and I don't smell what they're cooking, so it's great. It's like it's two separate units. And spray foam really, to me, is almost never the answer. There's specific cases for spray foam, but I've learned that the hard way. Like, to me, spray foam, sometimes, like, there's always a way around it. It could be seen as almost like the lazy way of doing things. For example, I had spray foam all over the roof. I unfortunately at some point had a leak. Well, you don't know where that's coming from, right? So I started panicking, because I mean, yeah, I have a roof leak somewhere. It's somewhere in the channels of the spray foam. Where is it coming from, right? And just from that moment on, like, kind of swore, like, listen, whatever it is, I try to not use spray foam, right? I'll scratch my head. Like I said, I like to complicate things, but never spray foam again for me. And like, rushing into a project also, like, make the mistakes on paper. I went in with no design team, no nothing. Like I said, no details, just like on the fly. I could have done so much better if I had things planned out on paper. You know, I would have still taken maybe 2 years to build them, the whole project, but would have spent maybe a bit more time in the design phase instead of, you know, on the job site. So our upcoming projects, I mean, listen, from this, it was such a, I guess to me, it was such a success, right? It was a pilot project. And after that, I had great, like I said, Lori said, I had good press coming out of it. I had good attention coming towards this project. And I saw the business case for it. So I really decided not to go back to work and to try to do this full time, you know, took a big leap of faith there, and, you know, one client at a time, taking small jobs here and there. But now I could say that I guess I'm fully established and running well, having very nice projects in the pipeline. So I'm very happy for it. So that's why it really was a good pilot project for me. Like, I'm, you know, in retrospect now, I'm living here. Like, that's one of the goals achieved. I still have a nice, my tenant downstairs loves where he lives, and, you know, now I have my construction company. So my dreams were kind of achieved. So next project coming up that we're starting actually this month is a nice property in Saint Agathe. That's also an example of one of the clients. He came to me, he's like, well, I'd like to do a retrofit project. I'd like to do what you did, like, super cool. And well, we started searching for properties. So about a year ago, you know, sending me a bunch of listings, and we were kind of looking through them and the inspection reports, and it was like, well, this one I kind of like, right? It's like an old building, the siding has to be changed, the windows are pretty old, the orientation is perfect, with a nice big south facing roof, and the client wanted to bring it to a fully net zero, which would then be the first fully net zero, not net zero ready, so putting solar panels on top. And so we decided to kind of go with it. Now it's been a year of almost design, and we're ready to kind of start construction next month. So the strategy here is going to be, it's a chainsaw retrofit. And so we're cutting the eaves off, adding a nice Larson truss outside, some mine joists on the roof, rewrapping everything with belt and suspenders and other belts, like so many air layers, trying to reach really low air tightness, and most importantly, like, no spray foam, no foam at all, actually. So to me, well, of course, I can't take all the credit. I have a stellar client. I think having good clients is also very important. Like, he's super involved in the project, and, you know, everything that I bring up, he's like, yeah, let's do it. You know, he always makes the right choices, and I have to really be grateful for that. And of course, we have other projects in the pipeline. Nothing really to show for them, but we're starting to maybe think of doing a panelized retrofit. We have a potential client that wants to do it. Like I said, I like to complicate things, so I look for those challenges. I don't I don't try to go easy on those projects. So I'm very excited about the future. Honestly, I'm like, I guess you guys can tell, I'm so passionate about retrofits. I just love the headache. I love scratching my head and taking those buildings and giving them new life. Guys, here are my details if you guys want to reach me. I encourage you to go try. I mean, if any of you are French speaking, I have my podcast, like I said, called Beyond the Walls. The translation is Beyond the Walls, Au-delà des murs, where we speak about high performance construction. Super cool. We just finished first season. It's doing super well, and I'm very proud of it. So that's it.
That is amazing, Fellipe. Now I personally don't speak French, but I have a chainsaw. When you start that project, call me. I will get in my truck. I'm gonna come put some Larson trusses on you with you. If I can, I will make that happen.
Looking forward to that. So it may be a bit of a big drive, but I'm holding you accountable to that.
If I can make that happen, I will. I'll work. You can give me some language lessons.
No problem. That's a great deal.
Well, this looks
Amazing.
really exciting. I like, seriously, thank you for sharing. It's been a little while since I, heard you talk about this project, and you get so excited about it. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, I just love it.
You're really hard on yourself. Like, you did an amazing thing, and you're sort of apologizing for it half the time. And I just want you to know that this is fabulous, and for what you achieved on your first project, just huge pats on your back. There's nothing to apologize in this. Amazing.
You're right. It's more about being thankful.
Canadian thing ever to apologize for winning. It's the most Canadian thing ever. I won. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I won.
You wouldn't hear that in the BS&BEER US, right?
So I guess I got a quick follow up with that. If we can put the amazing accomplishments of the retrofit aside, how much renovation experience have you had before you ran this project? None. So back to what my colleague said, I grew up in a renovation business. I was on site when I was 8, and still running my own job 15 years later was scary as hell. So I can only imagine, and these are like 1980s homes, right? 1960s, right? Not that old, but 125 years or 150 years?
130.
130.
Yeah.
130 years, the amount of assemblies you get into, the amount of unsquare, unplumb, and you're discovering older mechanicals and things don't align, and you have an adjoining neighbor, you have a demising wall, you have zoning. Like Toronto, you're downtown with not great access to. You can't drop big bins, you can't have big cranes come in, you've got no material staging. You had to learn all of that on top of, like most renovations, they don't have deep plan sets with tons of details because you're learning as you go. So,
but here's what easy. I'll tell you this. At least I didn't have to learn. It's not like you're teaching an old dog new tricks, right?
Sure.
This is the only way I know how to build because of all the content that I've been consuming. That's how I learned to build. When I started this journey, I was only looking at high performance. So to me, it was kind of natural. I didn't have any other experience. So that's the only way I know how to build, which is funny.
What's good, right? You're building good habits.
Exactly.
Which I think is really, really important. So we try to teach it at the college. It's when a student graduates, tries to find an employer, find someone with really great building practices, because those are the things you're going to learn, and those become your new normal.
Exactly.
That's killer, man.
Thank you. See a couple of people speak French there in the comment section.
Yeah.
I love it. Aaron, I just know when you get to job sites, the French swear words you're going to learn, they're great. Oh,
you forget my first career was in the military.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I know, Fellipe. I almost want my dad to hop on the podcast because my passion and him comes together for some of the stuff we've done, and I'm embarrassed that I have got a beautiful last name and I can barely speak a French word. That's too much to do on the West Coast. So, um, but again, the amount of educating that you're doing with the podcast, that's great. Again, I mean that we talk about being curators of information from Dr. Joe and Steve Basic and kind of what we learned from them and what they do, and we're kind of taking on that role, being able to showcase things. But I mean, what's funny is I actually saw your project probably I don't know, like a year or two ago when I was
Mhm.
like doing high performance projects, and I think I actually used your photo or your picture in some presentation. So I just love that now I get to see the guts of it in the process. So just beautiful stuff, and I love it. And the fact like what Connor and you were talking about is just you've learned these habits now, you get to go do it. And like now when you look at your area process with this new retrofit, like a peel and stick, wrap the whole thing, gift wrap it, you're going to be hitting like past those levels, like these retrofits I've seen now, like even Paul from Geography Construction did one, a duplex here in Vancouver, and it looks just like yours. And his final area score was 0.33. And so, you're going to get to real good levels just by taking what you've done and just, applying the next level of details because you're just wanting to get lower with your scores. Just amazing. Great stuff. Love it.
Sure of that. Yeah, thank you for the kind words, man.
Before we open the floor to the questions, I just want to point out that Philippe lives in a market that has some of the lowest energy costs, if not the lowest energy costs in North America. And
Yes.
a deep energy retrofit is probably a pretty hard sell for the bulk of your market. So I just want to say kudos again. Like you are literally swimming upstream the entire time you're doing this. So
But what's good is that in these discussions, I don't have to kind of like sell you guys on passive house or on on high performance construction. Like in these times of talks, I don't have to sell. But when I do speak to clients or just non crazy fanatics like us, I never bring up energy savings at all. That's like out of the question. Like you almost ridicule it here in Quebec, right? Like, okay, you're gonna save $800, $900 a year. What's that gonna cost? It's comfort, it's health. These things have no price. I mean, I'm downtown. I'm in a full like, there's so many constructions happening around. Like, it's dead silent here. Dead silent. And like, you can't fake that. You really can't fake that. But yeah, Quebec, being in that market, not only that, and it brings a very big importance in the embodied carbon of everything, right? The operational carbon is so low that the embodied carbon of these buildings, like it makes a big impact. And that's part of like my no spray foam policy now is kind of, be very conscious of the carbon. In Quebec, it's a big part of the equation.
So yeah,
well,
just
I truly cannot thank you enough for joining us, Philippe.
All right, thank you
Amazing.
guys for inviting me. Really a pleasure to be here. Like I said, a big imposter syndrome. I looked up to a lot of you guys. Like I consume everybody's content. So I'm a product of you guys. That's what it is.
too kind. It's again, we talk about again, it's all about sharing and growing. And the fact, like, again, this community is all about sharing. So
Yeah, exactly.
you've got your opportunity now and it's great. And the best part is like now your project is going to be on our YouTube channel and everyone's going to be able to look at all this and that's the best part is just the data now is there for everyone to enjoy and look at it. So yeah, so I had one question just to get started is you talked about many baseboards. Did you put any baseboards back in or is it all just now heat pumps?
One baseboard. One in the basement, in the tenant's basement. In my unit, I have no baseboards, but in the basement, there's still one, just to try to cut that humidity a bit.
Yeah. No, great stuff. Yeah. There's so many great things about this project. Let's go to the questions in the queue here because there's some
We've
good
got
ones.
a bunch of questions in the chat. I believe Peter has a question, and if Peter's still with us, maybe we can get Peter on here to ask the question in person. because he is a fast, fun friend. If you know Peter.
Yeah, great project, very nicely done. You seem to have learned a lot coming through that. And the question, since you had such great detailed drawings all ready for you, what was it, 18, 19 pages? And,
Oh man,
were design changes made on the fly as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, everything was on the fly, man. Did the best with what I could, but I know I had some guiding principles, but most of it was on the fly.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. It's but it's a private project, and it was for
Yes,
yourself,
exactly.
and it's the best way to learn on your own material. And well, as was said in the comments, that if your tenant's spaces wasn't comfortable, you'd hear about that, but it must be.
Exactly. I'm sure.
Well done. And yeah, I don't know. I've got a hammer and a nail puller. I mean, I used to do roofing, and mechanical engineering is it. So where are you? Like, we're in Montreal or what?
Yeah, I'm in Montreal, exactly. Whereabouts are you at?
Oshawa. It's only 3 hours.
That's not too bad. It's not too bad. A quick morning drive, you could come.
Nice commute. This is.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate it.
I'm just trying to find. We had another question. I just don't know where it is.
Directional and the lightning.
Actually, I have a quick follow-up
Yeah.
then based on Peter's question for you, Felipe. When you consider your experience and how many retrofits there are, and as an advocate for Passive House and Passive House Canada, like that sounds like you are, would you find a certified project restrictive then to make changes on the fly, given that so much of the building is modeled and detailed down to the fastener and thickness of an assembly? Do you think that would help build more retrofits in Quebec, or do you think it's actually helpful to be a non-certified project to be more nimble and react to the building?
So I'm not too sure I understand it, your question fully, but if you're saying like you're asking if we should certify in Quebec or not, like what would help the business case?
Yeah, it's like you're saying it's you've had to be really responsive to the building. When you
Yes,
handed a challenge, you had to adapt and you had to kind of grow and learn. And sometimes with certified projects, everything down to the nailing pattern and the material of the fastener, whether it's stainless steel or steel, that's all in the design plans and doesn't really allow you to make those changes as you go. Do you think, how do you think that fits for you with the retrofit?
so what's good is that, like I said, a lot of my clients come early on. I don't know why, but I mean, not I don't know why, but whenever I try to speak out about that, or try to do any press releases or whatever, try to speak, let's say, to the general public, always encourage them to come see us as early as possible. So for my projects, I'm usually involved straight from the design phase. So I kind of have a little bit of control in terms of what goes into the envelope, because I do enjoy that stuff. I do enjoy that part. And yes, like in a certified project, everything is like kind of decided, and and everything is done. But I do feel like I get a say in it. But I guess learning, and just like Aaron said, like in a renovation, like that's where you'll learn the most, and on the fly sometimes kind of have to get creative. What's on plan doesn't mean it's exactly what's on site. You'll run into a couple of things, and like those super detailed plans, well, you're gonna have to figure out like a quick solution to that. So even if you do have those super detailed plans, like you still need to have a little bit of being able to do a little bit of freestyle, some patchwork from here to there.
I'm feeling like the urge to defend Passive House a little bit, because like it's not that rigid. Like, I mean, like in a retrofit is always inherently going to have some places where you're going to need to pivot, and depending on the building, like you can have opportunities to go in and do a little bit of like investigation, make sure you know what you're doing. And, you know, if you have to change, then you can change. You're not like, oh God, it's all for naught. So anyway,
I'm like
there,
still
taking
hoping
off
for.
the passive house hat now.
Oh no, of course. No, listen. I'm like, that's also what I do. Like, I try to sell passive house, but still haven't had my passive house project before. So, Connor, I guess we'll have to re-speak again after my first passive house project. So, I'm excited to really try and go and get that certification. That's really the next step for me.
Yeah, and just to you know, add to Lori's comments too. I mean, the one thing that I love about Passivos is the modeling software. You know,
Absolutely.
and when you go from the PHP to Hot 2000, like, let's just talk about thermal bridges, right? Hot 2000 doesn't really dive into it. And I was at a deep retrofit here within Haven, which is our local building association. And we had a technical Tuesday, and like we nerded out about this like flashing detail that came into the house, and you know did a really good job of being a really good bug screen. But when you start to think of like what that was going to do from a thermal bridging standpoint, and like we talked for half an hour about that detail between you know the architect, the building envelope consultant, myself about how to fix it now because we see it's a thermal bridge, and how to like you know fix it next time. And the software just helps you give answers. And like again, if you don't do it, that's fine. If you don't use Passive House, the consultants for the third party certificate or quality control, like it just it's an added tool that you can use. But when you see what the data can give you from a software, it just gives you more info to go after or tackle. So I mean that's kind of why you know starting off with good data helps out your project and helps out the path.
Takes guessing out of the equation. That's what it is. Like, there's no need to guess. We can almost, model very, very well. So
But yeah, I mean, as a builder, you know, we're in projects where we're not quite at passos either, and we just do try to achieve passos level our tightness because it just changed the entire budget. You know, I keep telling everyone the best mechanical system you can put on a house is an air barrier, and like what? Like, where's the filters I need for it? I'm like, no, it's just simple. Just wrap your house with it, and you'll see the benefits of it. And guess what? You don't have to touch it for 200 plus years. Done. So, you know, it's those fun conversations that you learn from passive house of just how to sell it. And like again, you're in a market where, you know, it's not about energy, it's about comfort and health. And here in BC, you know, we've got 5 weather seasons, the fire season, and that air tightness, managing that season. And so you get into these great conversations about that, you know, comfort and health. So love this stuff. So there's one question from Frank Crawford who left. He saw your 150 or PH 150 Lightning. I saw it too, it was great. And he was wondering if how you've connected to your house and if you had done bidirectional charging. Are
yeah,
you
that's
using the battery yet?
that's the future edition. I bought the charger for it, right? And I'm sort of waiting on having a little bit of budget saved up to kind of do that. But man, I love that car. First of all, I didn't like I just started my construction club, so that's my first pickup ever, and already like I'm so happy to have that. It's such a great car, and no, I've had a lot of fun, and I planned for that also all along. And yes, the goal is to have bidirectional charging. Don't have it yet, but everything is set up for it to be.
Great stuff.
I have a million reasons to come visit you now. That's where we're at.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we'll see each other. I'm definitely coming to the symposium there in Toronto, so I'll see all of your faces there too.
Um, just, I know this was your first retrofit, but along the way you were still consuming information. Did you start to, question, uh, carbon and carbon embodiment when you were choosing your finishes as you were going along? Did it change? Did your perspective change as the project grew, or were you just kind of trying to get through the ninth round and keep your hands up the whole time?
Bit of both. It changed, but like there wasn't any room for change. Like there's no going back. Money's already put in. Like budget was already tight, so I was like, let me not change my mind. Like that's for the next house. That's for the next one. So, you know, made the mistakes on mine, and hopefully on the next job, I'll be I'll get better and better every time.
Pick one thing and do it better every build. That's all you have
Exactly.
to do. And you're going to get there. And seriously, 65% reduction in energy, that is a beautiful thing in itself. It truly is. So
100%. I think the benefit too of being a GC is you now get to go and learn with a client, work on a different typology, be challenged by their own goals and their own budget. And you do the hardest part, which is do your own.
Exactly.
Learn while you're doing it, use your own money to figure out how it learns. Like that can be, take a lot of guts to do it. So the fact that you get to do a chainsaw retrofit and then the next one could be completely different, that in itself makes renovation really exciting and dynamic, and the people are different, and it's an addictive thing to get into. So
There's two train of thoughts on that. There's the train of thought to make mistakes on other people's money, which is good.
No, learn with other people's money. Learn with other money.
Yeah, let's say, but the best one is really make mistakes with your own money. You really, really become more conscious. Like you learn 10 times more when it's like your wallet that's like bleeding at the end. But
yeah,
I listen, if somebody wants to learn, I recommend it. Like do your own project. You'll come out of there like 10 times better.
oh man.
Well, I don't think you're ever going to run out of work, Fellipe. So.
Oh no, absolutely not. Honestly, I'm way too pumped for that. Like
Brendan has a question. If I don't know if Brendan's still with us. If he is, we'll get him to come on and ask his question. Maybe.
Did I have a question? I didn't think I had one. I was just chatting with one of the other guys, Ben, about
okay.
his
No, I thought
that's
you
going
wanted
on.
to know what your the build was done in.
Oh, that was my bad. There's some confusion. I was asking another person was chatting about their
oh, my bad. I read
but
it
that's
wrong.
A good point. That's a good point.
You're talking with Ben Station. Too easy.
Yeah.
My bad. Too much beer with the BS, things get confusing. Well, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, St. Patrick's Day is happening really soon.
My beer's just finished, so I guess it's perfect timing.
Yep.
To go crack another one.
We have one thing to take care of that we actually didn't do, and we didn't announce at the beginning of the show.
Uh-oh.
Completely forgot. Completely forgot. What's happening in April in Toronto?
My birthday.
Well,
My birthday.
Besides that, and besides Gina's birthday, we also have a building science symposium April 22nd and 23rd.
Peter's birthday.
Peter's birthday. So we have like a whole pile of birthdays, and we're all getting together in person for a building science symposium. It's a 2-day event. It's happening down in the Brewery District in Toronto at Mill Street Brewing. On the website, registration is up. If you can't find it, get a hold of any one of us and we'll point you in the right direction. But we have a registration to give away. Completely forgot. So this is my fault. But since Fellipe is our guest, I'm going to let him decide how we're going to give it away.
Well, let's see who's still here. Who's a trooper? Who stayed till the end?
There's still a few people here.
A few.
Says there's 16 people here.
You're gonna make them guess what number you're thinking of?
No.
So you can take off Brennan because I think he's coming, and 475 is a sponsor, so he's out. Thomas, did you buy your ticket yet? Because there's no refunds, so he could be out. Who else has bought a ticket? And then you could narrow it down that way. Oh, Thomas, not yet, eh? Okay, we'll leave you in the running then.
He's being lazy.
Yeah, I know that.
First person to activate their video who wants to go.
Yes. Convince Felipe why you deserve the ticket.
That's
All you
it.
got to do.
One job.
Beg for it. Come on.
Yep. There's Thomas.
Oh!
In part one, Thomas, why do you want a free ticket?
Why do I don't need a free ticket, to be honest. If somebody needs a free ticket more than I do, I'm probably gonna go anyway. Just to throw it out there. Sorry.
Congrats to Thomas. He just got himself a new facility here in Maple Ridge. So he'll be hosting maybe potentially some BS&BEERs in Vancouver here. So Aaron, you know what he's gonna have in his shop?
Oh, I know.
gonna be
We've
Bennett's
had a couple of
flashing.
discussions already. So for those of you that don't know, because I know Sean, I met Thomas's flashings before I met Thomas. Doing some job site tours with Sean Santamore. I was like, oh, I like this flashing detail. I like that detail. And I had the pleasure last month of meeting Thomas in person, the man behind the flashing. So that was cool. Because I have a thing with flashings. I don't know.
Just a little.
Follows you everywhere.
All right. Well, there's
Peter.
Peter couldn't get his video to work in time. So we have a duel. Yes, duel.
All right, so it's between Peter and Thomas then? Okay, so I would offer that Fellipe could do a very easy run-of-the-mill building science trivia question. And the person to get it correctly, answer correctly, we'll get the registration.
Okay, let's see who listened. Okay. My zip panels are what?
11.
Oh.
Wrong answer.
But I offered an answer.
did.
I think you deserve it for interacting. They were R9. They were R9.
9. Okay.
9 points.
That was yeah.
Gordie Howe,
Close
Steve
enough.
Eisenman, lots of good night.
Close enough.
Oh,
I knew it was up in around there, but okay, good. Yeah. Being very optimistic.
well, this is awesome. Oh,
No, Aaron, yeah. Hit that button again.
unmute. All right, there we go. One more time for the cheap seats. I've had little blips and conversations with Peter here and there, but we've never actually met in person. So now I know you're going to the symposium. It's going to be all building science and a little bit of beer, Peter.
Yep.
See you all there.
Everyone, I unfortunately got to run. I'm on dinner duty, so I need to go get the pasta bake going. Thanks for a great evening, Fellipe. Honestly, can't wait to see you in Toronto. And keep doing great work. And yeah, such a cool project you got coming up. I can't wait to see. So guess what? We'll see you next year, and you're gonna you have to present on your next project. And
That's it.
Because again, retrofits is where it's at. And again, we talk about Energy Sprong Thomas. With his new shop, he thinks he should be having part of his shop as a retrofit panel production. So a lot of great discussions. And once you talk about mentors, gentleman Butterwick Construction up in Edmonton.
Yeah, Peter.
Peter, right? And it's funny. I always think it's every time I think of his last name, I'm like, it's Armageddon, but it's not. It's
Close though.
and you know, again, it's great that we have local mentors to inspire to, and knowing that retrofit panels is where we're going to go, and having some of those slick systems. It's just got to find more of those old boxy buildings to just slap, you know, 4 sides on and a couple roof panels, and off to the races we go. So
Yeah, these one of one retrofits are cool, but we need mass retrofits, and only Paneliza can get us there.
yeah, lots of further conversation. So everyone, see you in Toronto in whatever 34, 36 days and 35 sleeps, whatever it is. Enjoy your night. Take care, everyone. I gotta go.